Every summer carnival needs some colorful tents. This is part of my Summer Carnival Series, and we're making our tents from thrifted items. Welcome to Up All Night DIY. I'm Marika. Thanks for joining me. I'm hanging with these lovely and talented ladies for the Last Thing Thrifted collab. Marika of Marika Creations, Dawn of Shabby Meets Bling, Jody of Jody at Southern Seasons, Annie of Crafting with Annie Jones, and Zana of OK at Home DIY. You'll find links to their channels in the description box. Right, we've got a lot to do. Let's get into it. Here are my 3 thrifted items that will be, the main material for each DIY. A friend gave me this paper mache box. This will be our big tent. The only thing that I found at Goodwill is this old coffee tin. Paid $2.99. No lid. And I have this Tootsie Roll container. This is more of an upcycle than a thrifted piece, but you gotta make do when you live in a barren thrift area. You know what I'm saying? Before we get into the separate DIYs, we're going to do some prep work on all of the pieces. I'm going to first give the tin a coat of white primer spray paint so that my chalk and acrylic paints will stick to this. I'll give the other 2 containers a couple of coats of white acrylic paint to give us a clean surface to work with. Now that it's primed, I'll give it a couple of coats of white chalk paint, which is going to give us a nice full coverage. The other 2 containers are going to get a couple of coats of white acrylic paint, just regular old Ceramcoat craft paint. I just want to make sure that we have a nice fresh surface to start with. So while the containers dry, we're going to create the roofs for 2 of the tents. I googled the divided circle, found this clip art, I sized it in Photoshop, and printed it on cardstock. I don't want to see any of the black lines on my roof, so I'm going to use my light tablet to trace the lines on the opposite side with red pencil. The red pencil because I'm going to be painting sections of it red. I completely forgot I had this tracing pad, this light tablet, and I was cleaning some stuff out and came across it just in time. Okay, so now I'm going to use a detail brush to outline the sections, and then I'll paint every other section with Ceramcoat Watermelon. That's the color I'm using here to do the outline. And we're just going to fill in these sections. This section here, the wider one, that is okay because that's where we're going to make the cut. Well, you'll see. It's where it's going to overlap, but that's why this section's a little bigger than the other sections. To pull in some blue, I'll use Ocean Reef to outline the sections. And I'm using my detail brush again for this. And I'm going to repeat all of this on my larger circle too. Now that the prep work is done, let's get to DIY 1. We're going to start off with the Tootsie Roll container. This is going to be our ticket booth. So I found this small piece of red and white striped scrapbook paper, which I thought would be the perfect background for the ticket booth. So we're going to Mod Podge this into place. I've already cut it to size, and I'm going to use a cosmetic sponge to apply the Mod Podge to the container. I'm going to do this a small area at a time so that I can adjust the paper as I go. I'm going to do my best to get any wrinkles or bubbles out of this as I go. Then I'll apply more Mod Podge, and then I'll smooth down the next section of paper, and so on until the container is completely covered. I did have a little bit of trouble with this. I don't know, bumble fingers or something. Anyway, I had to fuss with it a wee bit, but we got there. We'll add a top coat of Mod Podge to the paper. This is going to make the paper a more paintable surface. With Ceramcoat Hippo Gray, I'm going to paint in a little window to our ticket booth. It's nothing fancy, just a simple arched window. And I'm going to give this 2 coats. I outlined the window to give it a wee bit of a frame in Ocean Reef. Again, I'm keeping it really simple. Yeah, there we go. All done. Keeping with the theme of my other carnival pieces, I'm going to add some vinyl circles with quasar stars. I've cut these out with my silhouette, and I'm just going to pop these on either side of the window, just like that. I'm going to use this snow cone cup for the roof of our ticket booth. These were actually thrifted too. One of my friends was getting rid of them and asked me if I wanted them because my friends know that I could probably use stuff like this. Anyway, this is going to be the roof, and I'm just going to hot glue this into place. I created the ticket booth sign in Photoshop, printed it on cardstock, and I'm going to hot glue it right above the window on the roof. I also printed off some tickets, and I'm going to tuck those behind the sign and glue them in place. I'll top off the ticket booth with this wee white Pom Pom. And there you go. That's our wee ticket booth. DIY 2 is our sideshow tent. We'll be using the coffee tin for this. I'm going to trace on lines to create wide stripes. I'm going to say these are about 3 inches wide or so, maybe 3 1/4. I've used painter's tape to tape off the stripes, and I'm going to pounce the edge of the painter's tape with some Mod Podge to ensure a nice crisp line. This will prevent any paint from bleeding under the tape. The tape itself usually does a pretty good job, but sometimes on curved surfaces it can be a little tricky. This is extra insurance. I'll paint the exposed sections with 2 coats of Ceramcoat Watermelon, my favorite red. So I gotta tell you guys, to prepare for this particular collaboration, my husband and I went to the Goodwill and a couple other thrift stores trying to find something that I could use that would fit in with my carnival theme. Anyway, couldn't find anything that I was willing to pay for. This was the only thing, $2.99. Everything else, not that there was a whole lot to choose from, to be honest, but everything else, I mean, it's just retail prices. It's ridiculous. And I know that I say this all the time, every time I do one of these collabs, but it's true. It's crazy. What's it like in your areas? I know, like where Dawn is, she finds stuff by the road. You know, it's just amazing stuff. Not to mention, her secondhand stores are dirt cheap. I'm super jelly. Let's remove the tape now to reveal our stripes, and hopefully they're nice and crisp. Yep, that looks pretty good. Good stuff, good stuff. I'm happy with that. In one of the white sections, I'm going to draw in the doorway. Basically, I'm just drawing an arch. And I'm going to sketch in some curtains. I'm using my red pencil for this. I try to use a pencil that's the same color as the paint I'm going to use. We're going to paint the curtains with some watermelon, and we'll give it a couple of coats. Enjoy the music. The doorway will be painted with Hippo gray, just like we painted the window of the ticket booth, and that's going to get 2 coats too. How about some white stripes for the curtains? Again, nothing too fancy, just a simple stripe. Very cartoony. We'll pull in that blue with Ocean Reef to outline between the sections and around the doorway. And I just put my finger in the blue stripe. That's okay. Clean that up in a wee bit. I'm going to dab that blotch with some white paint. To add a little dimension, I'll float the white sections with Tropic Bay Blue. I load my brush with the floating medium. Then I'm going to scoop up some paint on the corner of my brush, stroke the brush on the plate. This will blend the medium with the paint on the bristles, giving me a gradient of color. And I'm going to shade right along the sides of the white sections. Floating medium is a folk art product. I have a floating technique video. I'll link that in the description box for you in case you want a little more instruction on how to use it. Let's float around the doorway, just across the top of the arch there. I'm going to float the red sections with Marika Cherry Red. It's the exact same process to loading the brush and floating in the color. This cherry red is just slightly darker than the watermelon red, and that's how I like it. That's how I roll. And as you can see, I started with the curtains, and then we'll do right along the red stripes. You'll want to reload your brush with the paint and the medium as needed. You can always tell because your brush will get like a little skippy. So, you can feel it for sure. We're going to shade the doorway with Ceramcoat charcoal. I'm going to hold my paint corner of my brush to the edge of the curtains and float the color right along there. This is going to give it a wee bit of depth. I found these blue fabric pennants amongst my fabric scraps. Yeah, so we're going to glue these around the top using a dot of hot glue, and I'm going to finish them off with fabric glue. I'm not sure what these were from, and I didn't have many left, but enough to get this done. Let's add our sideshow sign. I created this in Photoshop as well. And we're going to place this just above the doorway. I'm using my Fabric Fix glue to attach it. Onto the roof. Okay, remember that larger section of red? Well, I've cut a slit from the edge right up to the center. I'm going to pull one side over onto the other side, forming a cone. I'll pop it on top of the can to make sure of the size. Then I'll mark where it needs to be glued. I'll add a bead of glue, and I'm just going to pull that side over and make our wee cone. It's sitting a little wonky because of this overhang. I'm just going to trim that off. I made a little paper flag for the top, which I'm going to glue onto a skewer. I poked a hole in the top of the roof with the skewer, and I painted a wood bead with Ocean Reef, and I'm going to slide that onto the skewer under the flag. We'll slide the skewer into the hole, and then we're going to glue the roof into place. For a final touch, I'll add some of my vinyl stickers on either side of the doorway. And I'm going to spray this with clear matte sealer. And our sideshow tent is done. DIY 3, the big tent. I'm using the paper mache box for our big tent. And as you can see, I've taped off sections and we're going to paint in those red stripes. We're going to do the Mod Podge thing again along the edge of the tape to keep those lines nice and crisp. These stripes are a wee bit smaller than we did on the sideshow tent because I wanted a little variety while maintaining continuity among the pieces. You know what I'm saying? And we'll paint the exposed sections with watermelon, a couple of coats. I'll gently remove the tape. I don't want to pull away any of the paper from the box. You never know, it could happen. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to sketch in the doorway just like I did for the sideshow tent. It's the exact same feature. It'll get the curtains and all. And we're going to paint in the curtains and the doorway in the exact same way that we did for the sideshow tent. Nothing different. Just like before, we're going to outline the doorway and the sections with Ocean Reef. I float the white sections with Tropic Bay Blue and the red with Marika Cherry. I'll glue the Step Right Up sign just above the doorway. Again, I'm using my fabric glue for this. We're going to add the tent top. So again, I'm going to cut from the edge up to the center. I'll pull the side over to create the cone just like we did before. And then I'm going to take a look to see how it fits the top of my tent. I'll mark it and glue it just like we did before. Now this one won't be as high. I wanted this one to be a wee bit lower. I just think it looks better overall on a bigger tent. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? I'm going to poke a hole in the top dead center with a skewer and I'll glue the roof in place. Again, I'm using fabric glue. And this is partly so that I can make any adjustments, because if I used hot glue, once the paper goes down, that's permanent. So this is easier if you need to adjust. Figured I should use some festooning to tie it in with the other carnival pieces that I've made. You feel me? So we're going to glue some around the top edge. Of course, we need our star stickers. So we'll pop those into place. And finally, let's add the flag to the top. And that's that. Step right up. Come one, come all. Here's a final look at today's projects. Our wee ticket booth. What a fun wee hut, don't you think? Has a real fairy tale vibe. Every carnival worth its salt needs a sideshow. I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. So glad I found those little blue fabric pennants. And finally the big top where you can catch Bubbles and Snuffles the carnival elephants. Celia will be showing off her balancing skills. And we can't miss Fudge the monkey's juggling act. All found in the big top. I painted the lid of the box with Ocean Reef, added some white quasars, and set the box on top of it. Once the Carnival series is complete, I'll definitely share pics with you guys for sure. I may still have another project or two left in me for the Carnival series. We'll see. In the meantime, I want to thank all of my creative collaborators, Marika, Dawn, Jody, Annie, and Zana. You'll find links to their channels as well as a link to the playlist in the description box. Go watch all their videos and show them some love. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Stay creative, my friends. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Up all night with Marika.